As a slave for Doña Francesca, she is rarely allowed out of her sight. Yet one day when Michaela was sent to offer Padre fresh flowers for the altar from Doña Francesca's garden, she saw Dakarai and smiled. She smiled because it was the first time in months that she had been able to walk alone to the church without Doña Francesca lamenting about her perceived laziness. So Michaela strolled with her basket of flowers and enjoyed the hot sun on her head and the grinding rhythm of the stones under her light leather sandals as she experienced a moment of timelessness. She did not even try to pretend that this was a life she could have, but in that exact moment when she made eye contact with Dakarai as he was crossing the plaza, she had smiled with pure joy, one that made her beauty radiate, and he stopped and smiled back. Shocked, Michaela turned her head as she felt his look sting the blood inside her body. She ducked into the church, murmuring a greeting to Padre, and handing him the flowers, while trying to ease the pace of her heart. Padre dismissed her with a disinterested blessing, distracted by the other parishioners coming for confession. With a mumbled directive to tell her mistress many thanks, Padre turned quickly and forgot Michaela's presence. Used to sliding into corners, Michaela quickly left the coolness of the church, all the while thinking of Dakarai. In those days she too called him Juan Carlos. She did not expect that he would be waiting for her to emerge from the church. He stood by a tree in the forest surrounding the plaza, shaded and alone. Nodding his head, he beckoned her to approach. Gazing around to see who was about, Michaela walked swiftly across the plaza to stand abruptly in front of him. As she drew up to him, his height and frame seemed imposing. She had never been this close to a free black man before. She was only used to being near the other enslaved black men when they worked together, and even then their interactions were limited. She smelled the sharp tang of lemongrass on him, along with something else earthier, as she inhaled deeply. Like many of the other black women who whispered while working on the haciendas of the Spanish, Michaela had once foolishly dreamed about being enfolded in the arms of this gorgeous man. Amused at herself for just noticing his newly grown beard, which covered his upper lip and chin in an elegant goatee, Michaela could tell that this was a man who took care of his looks. Rumor had it that he was 42, though his broad shoulders tapered into a trim waist and lean legs, giving him the look of a man half his age. Dakarai's dark chocolate skin had the ruddy burnish of being out in the sun for a bit too long. At that moment Michaela could not think of any other in all of Costa Rica who was more beautiful than this man in front of her. He looked her squarely in the eyes and said, "Michaela, I am sorry for disturbing you. I know the ways of Doña Francesca. You do not own your time. However, grant me a minute. There is something I would like to say." Dakarai leaned into Michaela, speaking softly so only she could hear, and Michaela stood there, a grown woman with lovely mahogany skin, tinged with pink from her walk in the day's sun, momentarily reduced to a teenager. She tucked her head into her chest, trying to still her pounding heart, and then slowly looked up again into his eyes. "You may speak freely, Juan Carlos. I can tell Doña Francesca that Padre was engaged, and I had to wait to give him the gift of flowers. I have a few moments to spare," Michaela whispered. "Please call me Dakarai, which is my real name. Juan Carlos is the slave name I was forced to carry, and the Panyas are too unimaginative to believe I had a life, a name, and a history before I was their property. But let me be straight with you, so that you see and hear me for who I am. I speak with the deepest respect for you. I am a man who dedicated a lifetime to the mother of my daughter. She is now gone 15 years, and during that time I have been both enslaved and free. I work and raise my daughter and have not thought too much of what the arms of a beautiful woman would feel like after all this time. Today, in seeing you, I have remembered what it means to be held and loved by a woman, and my need now is great." I would like to see you, Michaela. I understand what I am asking is a dangerous thing. I cannot offer you freedom, marriage, or a home. However, I can give of myself freely if you will have me.